change to Timo. Welcome, Timo. We met yesterday, and have a great session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and good morning, everyone. And good morning to the 200 people who are watching the stream. We know you're still in your pajamas, but you're missing out on an amazing location. So let's talk about new generations and new opportunities. My name is Timo Elliott, and I'm an innovation evangelist for SAP. Now, I know the first question you have is, what the heck is an innovation evangelist? Well, so let's take a look. This is a touch screen, right? Okay, so it is. Look at that. So my role involves working with organizations on the leading edge of innovation, gathering the lessons learned, and then sharing that with as many people as possible so that we can all be more successful. So today, what I'd like to do is talk about the new opportunities that I'm seeing in customers using SAP technology to transform the way they do business. So there are three big opportunities that I find, and we'll be illustrating each one with real-world examples. So the first one is faster innovation. Everybody wants to innovate faster. How can we do that? Second, how can we empower business people to do more of the innovation themselves? And third, how can we move from analytics to action? How can we actually use data to make a difference in the business? So let's start section by section. First, automation and innovation. There's a lot going on in the world right now. Supply chain disruptions, inflation, extreme weather events, war, worker shortages, energy costs, climate change, and above all, uncertainty. Everything is changing faster than it is in the past. So if you're feeling a little bit unstable, you're not alone. Everybody knows that there's a lot of change. Our role, of course, is to try and use technology to improve those situations. But technology is hard. Analysts say that fully 30% of digital transformation projects don't deliver on all of the hoped-for outcomes. Why is that? Well, partly it's because of the amazing amount of fragmentation we have in our existing systems. Innovation is easier if you could just start from scratch. But the reality is we have lots of investments, our existing systems, and we need to be able to innovate and leverage all of those existing investments. This is a study by IDC. They basically said over the last 2 or 3 years, there's been lots and lots of innovation. So a big spike, because companies had to innovate in order to survive. They had to go from manual processes to digitalized processes because of the pandemic. But they had to do it quickly. They didn't have time to do it in a strategic way. So you've ended up with lots of islands of innovation. We actually have more different silos of data and different systems than we had before. It's harder than ever to have a more strategic approach to innovation. So what's the answer? Well, we need to work on this notion of a digital business platform. This is IDC. 2022 is the year the technology architecture becomes the business architecture. All of the analysts agree. They have different words for it. Forrester calls it future fit organizations. Gartner calls it the composable enterprise. But the vision is always the same. It's about having a solid foundation of technology and then be able to create more composable applications. So to put together Lego bricks quickly and easily to be able to innovate in a more agile and flexible way. Now, of course, they make that sound easy. We need to work on the best of both worlds. So at SAP, obviously, we'd like to help you with your digital core, S/4HANA, moving to the cloud. You know, the tankers are a great way to move goods around the world. They're very powerful and reliable and efficient. So you need a solid digital core. But of course, we also want the speedboat. We want to be able to deliver quick returns to the business within weeks or months. So how do we bring those two together? Well, let's look at some examples. This is obviously where the SAP Business Technology Platform comes in. So S/4HANA is the core, SAP Business Technology Platform with everything you need to be able to innovate faster. One of the big opportunities is artificial intelligence. And I've had a lot of fun recently playing with the power of artificial intelligence and a whole series of new algorithms that do text to image. Hands up if you've heard of DALL-E or Midjourney or Stable Diffusion. Only a handful of people. OK, so it's a lot of fun. What you do is you take a phrase like teddy bears mixing sparkling chemicals as mad scientists in a steampunk style, and then the algorithm gives you that. Isn't that cool? So you can have fun with it. We can have a medieval painting of the Wi-Fi not working. Right? He looks pretty upset. We could have a girl watching a video on her MacBook, oil painting from 1664. Pretty convincing. Or a Victorian man struggling with his addiction to TikTok. So we can use this for fun. There are actually organizations starting to use this because you can imagine things that don't yet exist. So let's say you have an idea to have one of those automatic vacuum cleaners that looks like the robot R2-D2. There you go. You just put in that text, and it gives you a very realistic view of what that might look like. Or you have an idea for a pair of sneakers based on Sonic the Hedgehog. Or you can imagine combinations of products that never came together before, like a combination toothbrush and toilet brush. Not necessarily a good idea. I even asked artificial intelligence to draw artificial intelligence for me. So this is what it came up with, right? That's pretty good. That looks like it's pretty artistic. There's another one, right? This one's all about brains and the neurons. This last one, though, got me a bit scared because I don't know about you, but she really looks like she's just about to eat the human brain. So we have to be scared about use of AI sometimes. All right, enough fun. Let's talk about some real-world examples. Lots of companies that I talk to are being able to use, to turn basically anything into a sensor and detect patterns in new ways. This is Avangrid. They run electricity grids in the US. And what they've done is they put cameras in their trucks. As they drive to do repair jobs, the cameras scan all of the power grids that they go by. It's taking pictures, and then it uses an edge device. So within the truck itself, it's detecting any of these lightning projectors that might be broken. If it spots a problem, it automatically creates a work order, and people can go and repair it. So it's increased the speed of repair by 30%, and an up to 70% increase in quality because the network grid goes down less often. So this is just one example, but we see a lot of these where people, they build the artificial intelligence with an open model using a hyperscaler platform, but when they want to use it and turn it into an actual production-ready business application, that's where they bring it in, the SAP technology. Because it has to tie to the SAP systems, you want to trigger actions within your business logistics programs. Here's another example, ASR Group. They make a lot of cane sugar around the world. They wanted to have a vision of the future. In an uncertain world, some things they'd like to be able to do more scenario-based view of what they should do. So they have to deliver sugar to their customers in 600 different locations at a certain price in a month's time. But the logistics cost of trucks, in particular in the US, was very chaotic. And so they created a machine learning model that basically looked at all of the possible routes. It combined internal and external sources of data to create a machine learning model. So it uses 12 months of data from the company and the logistics systems, and then lots of external data, economic data, the weather. They bring it into, this is data intelligence. They build a data pipeline to move the data to the machine learning model. And then they actually display those scenarios to the business analysts using SAP Analytics Cloud. And I like this example because it's artificial intelligence, or AI as augmented intelligence. The algorithm doesn't know everything. Human beings are still the most powerful technology in the organization. So they're using the algorithms to make even better predictions. So they're able to have 95% prediction accuracy with this combination of man and machine. Another great way to use artificial intelligence is all of those boring jobs that people hate as part of their work. There's a lot of them in finance, for example. So Mercedes-Benz used SAP cash application. It uses machine learning to automatically match invoices with the bank information, the information received from the bank. So most of the time, they should match anyway. But sometimes there's 2 invoices for 1 payment or 2 payments for 1 invoices. And so there's lots of people in the world whose job it is to match those different figures. Using machine learning, Mercedes-Benz were able to increase the automatic matching. So they matched another 58% of the unmatched invoices. Doesn't sound that exciting, but they have hundreds of thousands of invoices in dozens of countries around the world. And so this adds up to lots of saved time and money for the finance function. And this picture, by the way, this Mercedes does not exist, right? So I've used that algorithm to create some of these images. And I asked it to tell me what the Mercedes of the future would look like. And that's what it came up with. That's pretty good, right? I'd drive that. And so what's the future of these applications? Well, it's a bit like self-driving applications, where because we're using machine learning, we can automatically create applications that get better over time, automatically as people use them, right? It's because every time that matching algorithm has a problem, it goes out to a human being. They fix the problem, but that goes back into the algorithm so it can do a better job next time around. So in terms of the intelligent enterprise, we can make our business processes increasingly more intelligent automatically. And where does SAP come in? A lot of data science projects are done on open source platforms by data scientists, and that's great. But the analysts say that 87% of data science projects never make it to production. Why is that? Well, because they're built off flat files. They're built as a one-off exercise. You need to be able to update the data. You need to collect data on a regular basis. It needs to be maintained. It needs to be secure. It needs to be compliant. Those are all things that SAP is very good at. So we typically find that we come in later on in a data science projects to help a great idea become a great business process. Second section, empowering and helping business people collaborate more effectively. So there is a new generation of technology innovators coming. This is data from Gartner. Today, who does technology innovation? Well, obviously, IT departments. So around 10% of the average organization works for IT or business IT. Then, of course, you have your business users. So around 49% of people, they just use technology. But there's a big and growing percentage of what Gartner calls business technologists, 41% of the average organization. So these are people who weren't hired to do technology, but they end up using technology as part of their job to improve the business. And so over 50% of the average company now does some sort of technology innovation. So again, Gartner calls these people business technologists. They're halfway between the technology professionals and the business professionals. And Gartner says that 80% of new technology products will be built by non-technical people by 2 years' time. So all of us in this room, we work in like business IT. We have to learn how to design for loss of control. Increasingly, it's not about us doing the work of innovation. It's about providing a platform to let the business people do more of that innovation themselves. So how can we empower people? First, the basics. We need to make sure that people have the information they need to do their jobs. Here's a nice example from a zoo in Sydney. And they have a mobile application that they built using the SAP Business Technology Platform and the Fiori technologies. And it just brings together everything the employee needs. It's role-based, so different employees see different systems. They can change what they see. And it combines, there's HR data, there's analytics data, there's emergency data. So when the tiger gets out, this is the application that buzzes in their pocket. So that's the basics. We're getting really good. And most organizations, we still have a big opportunity to do more with these kinds of mobile technologies. But the average business person in finance, for example, or logistics, they know that there's things that could be done better in the business, but they can't change it themselves. They feel like they're at the mercy of the machine. They can go and talk to IT people and say, hey, can you fix this? But, you know, there's a lot of priorities. We don't have time to do everything that people want. The answer, ideally, is to empower the business people to do a lot more of that themselves. So they can actually identify and correct the mistakes that occur in the process. Again, this is the algorithm. That's a cyborg sketch by Leonardo da Vinci. Not bad. So all these technologies are now available to business people, not just a power user doing analytics, but really end-to-end workflows for themselves with automation and machine learning and the ability to take actions in your system. So it's possible, but what happens if we give these tools to the business people? What would happen? Anybody? Chaos. Right? Because people are going to do everything, and they're going to make up their own figures, and it won't be secured, it won't be compliant. So the answer to, we have to do low code and no code, but the right answer is co-code. We have to provide the Lego bricks and then let the business users build on top of that framework in a secure and compliant way. So here's some of the technologies that are being used to do that. This is Porsche. They have deployed SAP Data Warehouse Cloud. They've been using our analytics for many years. They call this the final piece of the puzzle. Why? Because it allows a more federated sort of data mesh approach to analytics, where the business people have self-service access, not just to queries, but also to be able to bring data together themselves and to model their data, create their own hierarchies. So the sales organization at Porsche used this to collect data for their regular sales meetings, and it brought down the time from several weeks down to just a few hours to prepare the reports. And again, it's done in a governed environment. There's the notion of spaces that you control, but you still give the business people what they need. This is a nice example. This is BD Sensors, a small organization. They just have 300 people. But they were expanding quickly, and they wanted to be able to do more with less. So they turned to SAP Process Intelligence. So this is a tool that allows business people to create their own workflows, including things like machine learning. So this one, for example, it looks into the email box. It opens the email, determines whether it's an invoice or an order. It looks at the attached PDF, scans it for the information it needs, and then automatically puts that as a new entry into the SAP system. So this allowed them to work a lot faster. Again, get rid of the most boring parts of their jobs. And then we have the full no-code business applications. We acquired a company called SAP AppGyver. DHL is one of the users of the platform. This is an application built for their drivers. So when they take a truck on the road, the first thing they do is check that there's any damage. If there is, they can take a picture and they can upload that to the system. What's great about this application, it was built in just a few weeks, and it was built by the business unit themselves, and it doesn't include a single line of code. The whole thing is built by dragging these blocks, like take picture, to create an application. So really easy to use for the business people, but the key is the combination of these AppGyver technologies with the SAP S/4HANA core, so that when you're dragging invoice or customer, or when you're saying create order, they're doing that in a way that has been built by the people who know what they're doing. So the IT function sets it up, so you have that combination of the flexibility for the business people, but all of the security and compliance that you need. Last area, turning analytics into action. The real challenge with a lot of analytics, and I've worked in analytics for 30 years, is that we have lots of data, but for a long time, in order to actually act on that data, so we had to rip it out of the business systems and put it into a different environment separate from our actual business applications. Now, because of the cloud, we can just bring the technology to the data rather than the other way around. So we can have our business processes and bring the analytics into that business process as and when you need it. So we can make analytics much more tightly linked to business processes rather than a dashboard is useless. You have to change something in the business in order to benefit from it. So it always has to go back into the business systems at some point. Let's look at some examples. This is from a big Swiss reinsurance company. They used to do, this is the top 500 people in the organization, used to use information as PDF documents. It took several weeks to prepare them. Now they've moved to SAP Analytics Cloud on the iPad. So they literally have all the information they need at their fingertips, and they can drill down multiple levels. From a cultural point of view, this is a great way of getting people to care about information. When your boss's boss's bosses looking at all of this on the iPad. They actually did this video. You can see this. It's one of the SAP Innovation Award winners. You can go to sap.com/innovation award to get information on all of these. And this is actually an internal video they did to promote the use of the tool internally. This is just a short excerpt. They actually have interviews with all of the executives talking about how much better it makes their work. And it's a great example of how it's not enough just to provide the technology. You also want to help people adopt it and use it and make sure that you've won them over. Freudenberg Home and Cleaning Solutions, they have gone with scenario planning. A big increase in people who want to do scenario planning. You want to take action, and those actions aren't clear, so you want to look at several different events. And this is where the SAP Analytics Cloud comes in, with analytics and predictive and planning all part of the same platform. It came up, I was in Argentina last week, and they said, okay, you know, they were talking to finance, and we're saying, you should try out our planning products. And they were like, yeah, no, we have planning. But then the guy said, oh, but last week, one of the directors said, oh, what would our finances look like if the Argentine peso drops by 20% against the dollar? And they go like, okay, well, we can get you that in a week. Like, no, you want to be able to do it in real time. This is the advantage of the platforms, is that you have all of the live data, and then if you want to make a change, you can, you have a vision for the future. You can use predictive to figure out where you're going. And this planning section, you can make lots of different scenarios, change the underlying values on the fly, and get instant feedback on which is possible. So a big increase in people using those solutions. This is my knee. At the start of the pandemic, I live in Paris, in France. I'm actually French, believe it or not. We were locked in, and we were only allowed out for an hour a day. So I thought, okay, for that 1 hour, I'm going to run like crazy. I'm going to get, lots of energy, so run as far as I can. That was a really bad idea. Because after a week of that, I couldn't really walk anymore. And so I went to the doctor, and I said, what's wrong with me? And the doctor, she said, I don't know. Right? There's lots of things that could be wrong with your knee. What you need to do is go and have an MRI, because it's a very complex system, and then we'll see what's actually happening in your knee. Well, this is where new technologies like business process intelligence come in. So with Signavio, you can imagine your business is my knee. You can go in, and it tells you, you have a pain. This will tell you exactly how and where and why you have a pain, and you can compare different districts, and you can help find best practices that should be shared elsewhere. Now, we have a whole section on this later this afternoon, but honestly, this has just been a fantastic addition to the SAP suite of tools, in particular for everything to do with creating your ROI case for innovation, because this makes it much easier to track the variables that you can improve. So you can go to the business and say, no, here's what's going wrong. Could we improve this KPI if we did this innovation? Yes? Okay, we should do it. Who wants to tell me what that is? This is the audience interaction part. I'm warning you because, some people still look a little sleepy. So far I've had, people said it was a barcode, like a funky new barcode. Somebody said it was a flag for some unknown gender. Or a Paul Smith shirt. Any other suggestions, anybody? A what? A painting. Well, yeah, it's actually a pretty good painting. Except the message is a little bit depressing, because this is 120 years. So this is each year in Portugal, the color of the average temperature of Portugal each year for the last 120 years. Now, I don't know if you can see a pattern here, but things are getting a little bit hotter. Here's a more conventional view of the data that's a little easier to understand. So this is not a very good curve. If anything, this is accelerating. If we look at the global data, unfortunately, things look even worse. So we're big believers in sustainability. We have to work together to help stabilize the planet at a new higher temperature. The good news is that in this room, we have an amazing leverage. Our organizations are responsible for a lot of the energy use in the economy. Like as individuals, there's maybe not much we can do. We can turn off our fridges or have slightly colder showers. But as representatives of our companies, we really can make a difference. And the good news is, it's just good business. It's what customers want from our companies. Employees want to work for organizations that work on sustainability. Governments are introducing new taxes and regulations, making sure that we track our carbon footprints or taxes on plastic. And even investors realize that doing the right thing is better for your long-term business. And the good news is that as we look at things like carbon footprint, there's often energy efficiencies to be found. One of my favorite examples, Walker's Crisps, part of PepsiCo in the UK, big SAP customer. They were one of the first companies in the world to introduce the carbon footprint label actually on the packet. So in order to do that, they had to look at the end-to-end carbon footprint life cycle. And to do that, they had to go and talk to the potato farmers. So imagine you're buying potatoes. How do you buy potatoes? What is the unit that you're going to use in order to buy potatoes? Is it the number of potatoes? No. It's the weight. Right? How many kilos, how many tons of potatoes can I buy from the farmer? But what happened was that the farmers would take the potatoes out of the ground, and as soon as they did that, the water, the moisture in the potatoes, they'd start to dry out. So what would happen to the weight? Right? So every day the potatoes were picked, they were going to get less money. So they had the habit of putting them into special warehouses where they were kept nice and moist. Then, what's the first thing you have to do in order to make potato chips? What's the first thing that walkers did as soon as they got the potatoes? Put them in special sheds to dry the potatoes before they could turn them into potato chips. So this was a huge waste of energy that they had never seen because they never looked at the carbon footprint. You know, they'd looked at energy use within Walker's Crisp, but they haven't looked at the end-to-end. So there was a win-win opportunity. They switched from buying tons of potatoes to buying volume of potatoes. So the farmers didn't lose money. They split the difference. Everybody's better off, and the planet. So farmers, Walker's Crisps, and the planet, all better off because they were able to analyze carbon in this way. Some real-world projects. This is Costain in the UK. They do a lot of the transport projects across the UK, so all of the highways and bridges and railway tracks. They have built what they call the Intelligent Infrastructure Control Center. And this is a nice example of the new way of doing data and analytics. It's a great dashboard, but it doesn't bring any data together. It uses a pipeline approach, data federation. So the data is brought together as and when it's needed in order to do the calculations. And you can drill down all the way to see where an individual earth mover is on a building site. So they're doing this to be able to benchmark different types of transport projects. They're using machine learning to figure out what are the characteristics of a good project or a project that's going to go over budget. And they're also using it to hit all of the carbon footprint values of the UK. So they have guidelines. So this is a key part of the government's approach to reducing the carbon footprint. This is a fun example from Turkey. So this is real-time carbon footprint calculations in the metaverse. So this is a company, they make car seats, and they have the 45 different robot stations, and they've created a 3D version of that in the metaverse using a game engine, Unity 3D. And each of these stations, therefore, has its digital twin. And all of the data that's been in the real world gets moved into this metaverse view. So they have like sensors. These are the sensors in the metaverse. These are the real world sensors. So in real time, you get all of that data in the metaverse view. They're bringing in real-time data from all of their energy providers. And then people can collaborate around the factory and around the data using SAP Analytics Cloud. They've sort of 3D-ified Analytics Cloud to bring all of the information in together in real time. And so one of the things they've been able to do is reduce the amount of gases used in the products and they can actually do it in real time for each car seat. So it's not just a global aggregate figure that they've kind of calculated from the totals. It's that seat used that much energy in real time. So it really helps them optimize every aspect of their business. So we'd like to help you make sustainability actionable in your organization. We have a whole suite of products. Every customer I've talked to has been agreeably surprised just how mature these different products are. For the Sustainability Control Center, to get a high-level view of your carbon footprint, or products that allow you to make more efficient packaging for your products. At the end of the day, we want to help make profitability sustainable and sustainability profitable. And together, I think we have a big opportunity. So those were the three big areas of opportunity. So first, we're going to accelerate innovation by a strong platform, and then SAP Business Technology Platform, and fast innovation on top in a guided, structured way where we let the business people do as much as possible of the work. So we don't do the innovation, we provide a platform, they do the innovation, and then we use that information to make a difference in our organization by leveraging all of the full context of our existing systems. So, all that in mind, it's about win-win-win situations. Hopefully we've seen the examples where you've been able to improve customer outcomes and increase profits and help make the world a better place. So it's all about profitability and the planet. We'd love to help you with your innovation. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you very much, Timo. Very inspiring, okay? Very useful examples.